on the application. The decisions are final if there are no appeals 20 days after the committee's decision. May I remind everyone that we are being recorded and to turn off your microphones if you're not speaking. So we'll start today's meeting with a bit of a roll call. Marcel?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Rudy?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Linda is absent, and I am here. So we can begin with, I have the first order of business is to determine if any of the members have any disclosures of pecuniary interest when considering any of the applications that we will be dealing with today. Are there any disclosures of interest? Hearing none. Have all the members of the committee received and reviewed the minutes of the previous meeting? And are there any errors or omissions? If not, I have a motion, a resolution in front of me. Can I have to adopt the minutes of the June meeting? Can I have a mover
Rudy.
and a seconder, please?
Rudy moves, Mr. Chairman.
And a seconder?
Marcel seconds.
Thank you, Marcel. So be it resolved that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held Wednesday, June 16th, 2021 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Marcel?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Rudy?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So first up, we have application BNPL 2021044 in the name of Mark James Fitzgerald. And can the planner give the report, please?
Absolutely, through you, Chair. An application has been received to sever a parcel having no frontage, a width of 12 meters, a depth of 56.67 meters, and having an area of 678.84 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area of 469.6 square meters as a boundary adjustment. Lands are to be added to an existing parcel located immediately adjacent to the northwest, having, it's a long roll number. The Civic is 60, Queen Street South. The final lot size would be 0.95 acres. So this application may be familiar to the committee. This was deferred. So the application is proposing to sever a portion of a lot within the urban area of Simcoe to create an infill opportunity. The application was previously deferred in April, at the April 21st meeting, due to ongoing concerns regarding servicing in the area. The purpose of the application is to take a portion of a lot at 174 Queen Street South and boundary adjust the parcel to give land to the property located at 160 Queen Street South for future residential development. There's a small error in the report. It says the retained lands are currently vacant.
Is now joining.
But just
Richard Posevad?
Is now joining.
Just to clarify for the committee, so this application, it is written in relation to an additional application which is still on hold essentially until further guidance is provided through council regarding servicing. This one, however, was brought forward because it does not create a new lot, which was articulated in the report. But there was an error per se, or part that needed more clarification. It did say that the retained lands are currently vacant. Well, a portion of the retained lands are vacant. They still are attached, and you'll see on the slide in front of you, there is an existing dwelling with an existing garage. There was that proposed severance between that and the vacant lot to the north, but that is still ongoing and in process. So currently, we're just looking at that back portion being boundary adjusted to that larger parcel to the north. And so kind of with that backstory, I'd just like to say that with all of that in mind, staff do believe the application is consistent with the related policies of the PPS and the Norfolk official plan, and are recommending that the application be approved.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant and/or agent on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Does the committee have any questions for the planner? Hearing none. Would the applicant have anything more to add?
Just want to concur with the report, and I have no objections to what's recommended in the conditions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone present on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Please unmute now by pressing *6. Okay, hearing none. Any further comments from committee members? Is there a motion from the committee, please?
Lisa motions to approve.
Thank you, Lisa. And a seconder, please?
Adam?
Thank you, Adam.
Ye-
So file number BNPL 202-1044 in the name of Mark James Fitzgerald. The subject application is consistent with related policies of the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and the Norfolk County Official Plan, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor? Marcel?
Yes.
Thank you. Lisa?
Yes.
Thank you. Rudy?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Thank you. And that is approved. Okay, next up is file number BNPL 202-1136 in the name of Lloyd Wood. And this is a severance application, and the planner can give her report now, please.
David Rowe.
Is now joining.
Through you, Chair. So an application has been received to sever a parcel having no frontage and a regular width of 444.99 meters,
Linda Vickery.
Is now exiting.
a depth of 75.9 meters, and having an area of 5.52 acres being left as a boundary adjustment. Lands are to be added to the existing parcel located immediately adjacent to the north, having an address of 1052 Wyndham Center Road. And the final lot size for that boundary adjustment parcel is expected to be 26.01 acres. So this application, staff are recommending deferral, and to give a bit of context with that. So the application is proposing a boundary adjustment as just noted. However, with boundary adjustments, unlike our other consents like severances, boundary adjustments are not intended to create a lot. Given the location of the boundary adjustment proposed, the resulting lands, which is, I think I articulated in the report as kind of the west lands and the east lands, effectively creates two separate parcels. So yeah, one to the left and one to the right, which is not the intention of a boundary adjustment. The intent is, of course, to change lot lines with the result of the same number of lots being at the end, typically two. So the proposal is, for a recommendation of staff, would be to defer this application. The applicant and the agent have submitted an accompanying severance, which would address this issue by proposing a severance to the west, severing that land, which would then leave one parcel with the boundary adjustment still leaving one parcel. So staff recommend deferral until both applications can come to you together. with the anticipated date for that being September, and having those seen together and evaluated by the committee at that time as a package.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. So just to be clear, that both applications will come together next month, or 2 months from now in the September meeting. Okay.
Yes, and just for point of clarification, is just to ensure the full circulation of that severance. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it through for the next meeting, just with our circulation timelines.
Okay, thank you. Is the agent on the line, or the applicant?
Yes,
Okay, Dave, we'll come back around to you.
yeah.
Any questions?
Yeah, I,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, yeah, my client is concerned that it's going to go to the September meeting, and he would prefer, obviously, that it go to the August meeting.
I believe the calendar for August is full already.
Oh, okay. I guess,
Hang on a second.
yeah, I didn't realize that there's a maximum number.
Just a minute. Okay, so it's not about the number of applications, it's about the cutoff date for the mapping department so that they can do their part of the job. So that date has since passed. So September is the earliest you can get it.
Okay, I guess it is what it is then.
Okay, so I'll circle back again to you in a minute. Any questions from the committee, please? None? Okay, and Dave, do you have anything else to add?
No,
Okay,
not really.
okay, thank you. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application on the line? Unmute now. Can I get a motion from the committee, the staff recommendation, please, or an alternative?
Rudy moves deferral, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Rudy. And a seconder, please?
Marcel will second that.
Thank you, Marcel. So, file number BNPL 2021136 in the name of Lloyd Wood. The subject application will be deferred until the September meeting. And all in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion is deferred.
David Rowe.
Is now exiting.
Okay, so next up we have file number BNPL 2021143 in the name of Anthony Suprin, and that is a severance application. And can the planner give their report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, an application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 6.11 meters and an area of 397 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area of approximately 1,190 square meters as a boundary adjustment.
Is now exiting.
The lands are to be added to the existing lot to the immediate north.
West.
West?
No?
North? Northish?
Towards Port Dover?
Yes,
Kind of west.
west. This is known as property 186 Cedar Drive. Staff have received this application and has circulated it for comment, and no comments of significance were received. This was provided to Longport Regional Conservation Authority, who are the regulatory conservation authority for the area. They are in support of the application, as no lots are being created, simply just the adjustment of an oversized lot to accommodate an undersized lot. It is for this circumstance and through staff's review, we believe that the subject application is consistent with the PPS and conforms to Norfolk County's boundary adjustment policies of the official plan and complies with the zoning bylaw for suitable boundary adjustment in the resort residential zone. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the public or members of the committee at this time, and thank the chair and everyone for this opportunity. Cheers.
Yeah, I think I misspoke there. I think it should be more kind of east, because the property that has the red roof is the one that's absorbing this lot, right?
Through the chair, yes. So the property is that subject land is being absorbed to the east, and then part of the lot that is being subdivided is also being given to the other property.
Okay, so we're clear on that. Okay, would there be an agent or an applicant on the line? No? Okay.
Yes, Maria Kinkle is on the line.
I'm sorry, the name again?
That's Maria Kinkle from MHN.
Okay, thanks, Maria. We'll get back to you. Are there any questions of the committee? Hearing none, does the applicant or agent have anything to add?
No, the staff report was fine.
Okay, good, thank you. Would there be anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Unmute now at *6. Hearing none, can I get a motion from the committee?
Through the chair, motion to approve. Lisa?
Thank you, Lisa. Seconder?
Marcel will second that.
Thanks, Marcel. So file number BNPL 2021143 in the name of Anthony Supran. The subject application is consistent with related policies of the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and the Norfolk Official Plan, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
Myself, thank you. Okay. So next up, we have a minor variance application, ANPL 2021-1133 in the name of Jason Kennedy. And can the planner give the report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, an application has been received, and the applicant is proposing to construct a single-story accessory detached garage in the rear of the subject lands. The approximate footprint of the structure is around 62 square meters. Therefore, the requested variance is to permit a usable floor area of 62 meters for an accessory structure, whereas 55 is the permitted maximum. The subject land is designated urban residential in Norfolk County's official plan and zoned R1A in the zoning bylaw. The subject lands are approximately 1,089 square meters in area and have a frontage of 16 meters on the north side of Mechanic Street in Waterford. The subject lands contain an existing single detached dwelling and an accessory structure which is going to be removed. The surrounding land uses are similar in size with identical low-density residential uses. Staff did circulate this for comment. No comments of concern were provided, other than simply obtaining a demolition permit once the obtaining a demolition permit prior to that building permit, in addition to just the general lot grading requirements when a building permit's filed, and that's from engineering. In terms of staff comments, I would just like to highlight that under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, there are 4 tests of a minor variance which must be met. That is the review that staff provide. Staff are of the opinion that this application meets those 4 tests, and we recommend its approval. I'll go through those 4 tests briefly, just for clarity's sake. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the official plan because the proposal is consistent with the urban residential policies recognizing appropriate development within that designation. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw because it maintains the R1A use of the subject lands, maintains sufficient open space for amenity area and lawn, and because the massing and position of the accessory structure is done in a way which maintains the structure as accessory use. The application is appropriate given the minor increase in usable floor area request because the proposal is in keeping with the character of the community and whose accessory structures are comparable to neighboring lands with similar accessory structures. Also, there is no habitable space proposed in the accessory structure, and the scale of the development is appropriate given the size of the parcel. Lastly, the application is minor because the proposal will have a minimum impact on the neighboring properties and community, and because the development is located behind the existing dwelling, blocking much, if not all, of the structure from view from Mechanic Street. For those reasons, staff are recommending its approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Is the agent or applicant on the line?
I'm here, David McPherson. I'm the agent in this regard.
Okay, thank you. I'll circle back to you. Are there any questions of the committee? For the planner, that is. Would the agent like to provide any additional information?
I'm in agreement with planner's report and support that. The only thing I'm curious about is, are there any conditions that have been appended to the approval of this?
Through the chair, no conditions have been required of your application. Staff did note comments which were addressed or addressed to you with regard to obtaining a demolition permit prior to the demolition of the existing accessory structure, obtaining a building permit for the accessory structure, as well as a lot grading plan will be required at time of a building permit application. Those are all comments, not conditions, but they're all very standard in terms of building permit process. So I'd recommend, if you have any questions about those, following up, but it's a very standard procedure for you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. I accept all of that. I actually submitted a lot grading plan with my application, so you already have that. And the other two, demolition and building permit, are standard, of course.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? You can unmute now. Okay, hearing none. Anything further from the committee? If not, can I get a motion from the committee, please?
Rudy moves approval, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Rudy. And a seconder?
Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
So application file number ANPL 2021-133 in the name of Jason Kennedy, in accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, and the development and requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
Myself, thank you. And that motion is carried. And that's approved.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is application file number ANPL 2021-134 in the name of Jason Smith. That is a minor variance application, and the planner can give their report, please.
Through you, Chair. An application has been received to permit the construction of an accessory building requiring relief of 1.7 meters from the maximum 5 meters.
Olson.
Is now joining.
to permit an accessory building with a maximum height of 6.7 meters, 1.53% for the maximum permitted lot coverage of 10% to permit 11.53%, and 57 square meters from the maximum 55 square meters to permit a total usable floor area for all accessory buildings of 112 square meters. So this application is pertaining to a proposed accessory structure being a garage. And sorry, the proposed application meets, in the opinion of staff, meets the 4 tests for the minor variance in the following ways. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the official plan because it is consistent with the urban residential policies and the intent of the section devoted to community design. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, as the increased height, usable floor area, and lot coverage would facilitate a use which is permitted in the zone and further complements the primary use of the subject lands as residential in nature. The development is not anticipated to have any negative effects on the existing uses. The application is appropriate because it supports storage and accessory to the existing use of the residential dwelling, is appropriately located near the back of the property, and appears to have been designed with the site and context in mind. And the application is minor because of the relatively small impact the variances are expected to have on the subject property, as well as the neighboring properties. Further, the proposed deficiencies recognize existing structures' locations, and the application as a whole supports land uses and associated designs, which are typical in the area. I would also note that part of the kind of tests or evaluation of the tests was also considering that the existing dwelling does not have an attached garage. And so in some instances when we're looking at accessory structures, that is in excess of essentially accessory structures attached to the main dwelling. In this case, there was no a garage type structure. So this would be the first of its kind on this subject parcel. So just to highlight that in relation to this file as well, that was a part of the consideration given the usable floor area that is proposed, being typically larger than what we would normally find acceptable, just given that instance and their proposed use. With the intended use of storing in a larger accessory structure, or I should say accessory vehicle, that was also taken into account as well in this application. So with that, staff support the application and recommend that it be approved, subject to the attached conditions to the report. And again, just the typical, sorry, I should say that that's there. There is no conditions with this one. It is just the minor variance in itself.
Thank you. Can I just ask anyone on the line that if you're not, that you make sure you mute your phone or your microphone, please? We're getting a little bit of overlap here. Anyway, okay, thank you. Is there an agent or applicant on the line for this file, please? And Dave McKinnon has his hand up again, I see.
Yeah, it's Dave McPherson,
McPherson, sorry.
and I'm representing this one as well.
Okay, thank you. So is there any comments or questions? Is there any questions from the committee, please? None that I hear. Anything to add, Mr. McPherson?
No, I'm in support of the planner's recommendation.
Okay, you're good?
Yes.
Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Hearing none, can I get a motion from the committee, please?
Marcel moves.
Thank you, Marcel. And a seconder, please? Anybody want to second? Sorry, Adam. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to have to second it myself, but anyway. So that being said, file number ANPL 2021-134, a minor variance application in the name of Jason Smith. In accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
And myself, thank you. And that motion is carried and approved.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up is file number ANPL 2021137 in the name of Brad Vollerhausen. I'm sorry. Volmeerschosen. Thank you. Sorry. And that is a minor variance application. And can the planner give their report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, an application has been received to permit the construction of a 15 square meter accessory structure requiring relief from section 11.1.1 of Norfolk County zoning bylaw to permit construction in the hazard land zone. Subject lands are designated urban residential and hazard lands in the OP and zoned urban residential type 1A, so R1A, and hazard lands in the zoning bylaw. The subject property is approximately 1,044 square meters in area and has 21 meters of frontage along the south side of Brown Street in the urban area of Port Dover. The subject lands back onto the bank of Lake Erie Shore and contains a single detached dwelling with large rear yard deck. The surrounding land uses are similar lot size with low density residential uses with similar rear yard amenity structures such as sunrooms and enclosed decks. I should note, just for clarity, that the proposed is to replace a portion of the existing rear yard deck with a enclosed sunroom. And the application we have here is not there's no deficiencies in terms of setbacks or height or anything like that. It's to require relief for permissions to construct in that hazard land zone. So a little bit different of a review, but it does still have to meet our section 45(1) of the Planning Act for those requirements of a minor variance. I'll give a bit of a background to this. Again, that's a proposal to permit the construction of a 45-foot by 42-foot, so around 15 square meter sunroom to replace a portion of the existing rear yard deck. The subject accessory structure has no proposed habitable space. There is no net increase with regard to usable floor area coverage for the proposed replacing of the deck. The entirety of the structure is zoned and designated hazard lands and within the regulatory area of Longport Regional Conservation Authority. As such, they are regulated under Ontario Regulation 178-06, and any development as defined by the Conservation Authority Act requires permission from Long Point. That leads me to comments from circulation. So LPRCA was circulated on this, and LPRCA staff are satisfied that the proposed does meet the requirements for development within the hazard lands. Further, they actually have received permission from their office with regard to this application. In terms of other agencies, no comments of concern were received and no conditions have been attached to this application. Staff do want to note that we did receive a letter of concern from a neighbor at, I believe, is 102 Brown Street. The letter of concern was with regard to privacy along that shared boundary line. What staff would want to highlight is that we've received these comments and we'll happily expand upon them if committee wishes. But the existing deck, there is an existing deck where persons are using them. So in terms of privacy, there's no addition or further encroachment that would provide further privacy issues. The application or the proposal complies with the parent zone, the residential zone, but it's just that hazard land zone that it's requiring that minor variance from. So with that, I'll just kind of briefly speak to its meeting of the four tests. So from a planning perspective, the application, it's in our opinion, meets the 4 tests of a minor variance and should be supported. And we recommend its approval, and for the following 4 reasons. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the official plan because the development meets the technical guidelines for development within the hazardous lands. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw as a replacing of a portion of a deck with an enclosed sunroom supports the existing uses on the property and meets the technical guidelines for development within the hazardous zones. The application is appropriate given the minor construction of converting a portion of the deck into a sunroom because the proposal is in keeping with the character of the community and comparable neighboring lands with similar yard amenities, rear yard amenities. There's no habitable space and the scale of the development is appropriate given the size of the parcel. Lastly, the application is minor because the proposal will have minimum impact on the neighboring properties and communities and because the development is located behind the existing dwelling that blocks all of the view from Brown Street. There's no anticipated impact on the neighboring lands to the east due to the tree covering as well as the existing nature of that rear yard deck. With that concludes my speaking points. I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Is the agent or applicant on the line?
Yep, Brad Vomerhausen here.
Okay, we'll circle back to you, Brad. Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Do you have anything to add, Brad?
No, to be honest, I just logged on and just heard a gentleman named Scott speak to the 4 points recommending approval. So if there was anything objecting to it, then I'm not aware of it.
No, there wasn't. He was just outlining the report as it's
Yeah.
presented.
Great. Okay.
So there's nobody on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion from the committee?
Rudy moves approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Rudy. And a
Lisa
seconder?
wants to second.
I'm sorry, is that Lisa?
You got it.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you very well. So application, file number ANPL 202-1137 in the name of Brad,
That's okay.
Vollmershausen. Is that pretty good?
Yep.
Pretty good, eh? All right.
Pretty good.
Thank you. There you go. I'll take that. In accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act and the development and requested relief maintains the general purpose and intent of the official plan, the zoning bylaw, and is considered appropriate in minor nature, and that public input was received and therefore has been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
Thank you, Adam. And that motion carries and is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up, we have file number BNPL. Hang on a second. BNPL 202-139, the name of Randall Scott Dearden, and it is a severance application, and the planner can give their report, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. An application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 8 meters, a width of 8 meters, and a depth of 30.48 meters in an area of 243.84 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area of 685.19 square meters as a boundary adjustments. The lot is to be added to the existing lot located immediately to the west, having an address of 15 Rogers Ave. The final lot size would be 708.4 square meters, and this is associated with 2 applications, so ZMPL 2021-126 and DMPL 2021-125. So the first one is a zoning bylaw amendment, and the second is a deeming. And so both of those pertain to this boundary adjustment directly and actually support this application. So the applicant is proposing to boundary adjust a small portion of land to the west of the marina. So you can kind of see the marina on the screen there, and is proposing to adjust that land to the west to that vacation home parcel. That land has been used, and you can kind of tell through the geography and the topography of the site now. It is grassy for the most part. The outlying would be the kind of more gravel portion at the front, but it clearly has been used for the neighboring parcel for quite some time. So the zoning bylaw addresses, I might just get Scott to flip to the next slide. I think it will show, it might show a little bit better. But in your report, you'll note that there's two different zonings applying to this area. So on the marina, as you may guess, is a marina zoning, so marine commercial, and on the resort vacation home is resort residential. And so in order to facilitate this application, a rezoning of that proposed boundary adjustment portion had to happen. In addition, you can kind of see it on the slide actually, there's a faint line between kind of what makes up the two parcels of the marina. So actually at the back, going towards the road, Scott, that line, yeah. So what that indicates is in the Long Point registered plan, which I think dates back to 64, I want to say, but I'd have to confirm that date. Quite some time ago now. This was previously 2 lots in that plan of subdivision, and so in order to create a difference, a change in that land, in order to facilitate this boundary adjustment, a deeming had to take place. Otherwise, we kind of have a floating piece. And we've been seeing kind of more of that type of development or change in this committee in the last few months. So that deeming has taken place as well as the zoning. Both were approved by council, one of them being finally approved last night. And so what's before you today is the actual boundary adjustment. So that small portion of the existing marina lot would be going towards the residential use. There are attached conditions. 2 of them which they would have already met just through the recent events since the report has been written. And obviously just the typical process for boundary adjustments. So I think at that point I'll leave it at that, and if committee has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them on this file.
Okay, thanks, Nicole. Is there an agent or an applicant on the line? No? Okay. Does the committee have any questions of the planner?
You start something, man.
Sorry, what was that? Is there an agent that wishes, is there an agent that wishes to speak to this application? I don't think so. So anyway, okay. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application that's on the line? You can unmute now. Okay, I'll take that as that there's nothing coming forward. Anything further from the committee or can I get a motion from the committee?
Marcel moves approval.
Thank you, Marcel. And a seconder, please.
Adam?
Thank you, Adam. So file number BNPL 202-1139 in the name of Randall Dearden. The subject application is consistent with related policies of the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and the Norfolk County Official Plan, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
Okay, moving right along, we have file number ANPL 2021-1144, and that's an application for a minor variance in the name of John Alton. And can the planner give the report, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The applicant is proposing to add an addition, so this is sunroom and seating area, to the front of the existing single detached dwelling in the agricultural area. The approximate footprint of the addition is around 142 square meters. The addition will be encroaching further towards the eastern property line to accommodate the expansion of the existing dwelling. The existing dwelling is already quite close to the property line, being approximately 4.5 meters away. So the subject required variance is to permit that side yard setback of 1.3 meters to accommodate the addition, whereas in the agricultural zone, 3 meters is required. The subject lands, as I noted, are zoned agricultural, but also designated agricultural. The subject lands are irregular in shape, almost hourglass, and have an approximate lot area of 7,284 square meters and 71 meters of frontage on the south side of Lakeshore Road. Staff are reviewing this application with regard to staff department comment. At this time, there's no comments of importance to flag, other than just our standard comments from the building department and engineering regarding lot grading and obtaining a building permit. No comments from the public have been received at this time, and staff are recommending this application be supported and recommend it be approved as it complies with the 4 tests of a minor variance. At this time, be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Is there an applicant or agent on the line?
Yes, John Alton.
Sorry, your name?
John Alton.
Okay, John, thank you. I'll come back to you. Does the committee have any questions for the planner? Would you have anything to add, John?
No,
Okay,
I don't decide also, so.
okay, thanks. Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? You can unmute now. Okay, hearing none. Is there any comment or a motion from the committee, please?
Rudy moves approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Rudy. And a seconder, please.
Marcel.
Thank you, Marcel. So file number ANPL 2021-1144 in the name of John Alton. In accordance with section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the development and requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received, and therefore has not been considered as part of the application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
Thank you, and myself, and that's approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think I missed a couple signs.
John Alton.
Is now exiting.
Okay, next, oh, hang on a second. Just the one? Is that all of them? Okay. So next up is file number ANPL 2021-1147 in the name of Mira Swanson, and the planner this is a minor variance, and can the planner give the report, please?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, an application has been received to permit the construction of a 98 square meter accessory structure requiring relief of 11.1.1 of Norfolk County zoning bylaw to permit construction within the hazard land zone. The subject lands are zoned and designated agricultural and hazard lands within the official plan and the zoning bylaw, with the entirety of the dwelling and the rear yard where the proposed structure is going to be located is designated hazard lands. So therefore, this application was submitted to address that address that zone and to request permission for development within that area. The subject lands contain an existing dwelling and no other structures. And the surrounding land uses is largely agricultural with similar sized kind of estate lots with similar single detached dwellings with accessory structures. Planning staff has circulated this for comment and received no comments of concern. Staff would want to notify the applicant that this is within the conservation area, or the regulatory area, I should say, of the Grand River Conservation Authority. So approval from them or permits from them is still required for your application prior to receiving a building permit. But that said, staff did review the application with regard to Section 45(1) of the Planning Act and are of the opinion that it meets the 4 tests of the minor variance and therefore recommending approval. Thank you, and if council, or sorry, if committee or any members of the public have questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Interesting. Just curious why the Grand River Conservation, but I guess that's their jurisdiction, eh?
Yeah, through the chair. This one caught me too. I'm so used to doing Long Point that when I looked at it, it's because it's so far north.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's part of the Grand River watershed.
Okay, thank you. Is there an applicant or an agent on the line?
Yes, Mariah Swanson.
Okay, thank you, Mariah. We'll circle back. Any comments or questions from the committee, please? Okay, hearing none. Do you have anything to add, Mariah?
Yes, so the GRCA permit has been approved already.
Okay, good.
And I was just wondering if a plot plan was needed to obtain the building permit.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Through the chair, do you mind just repeating that last part there, please?
Sorry, not sure if you can hear me there. Getting a bit of feedback.
Hear you well, but it's an echo in the council chambers, so sometimes it's hard to make you out. So just go ahead again. Repeat what you.
If there's going to be a plot plan needed, like a grade plan.
Through the chair, I believe you're referencing a grading plan. Yes, so I can reiterate what county comments were. Included in that was the obtaining of a building permit for the accessory structure, as well as a lot grading plan be required at time of the building permit, and further, only one entrance is permitted for a residential lot. So if any modification changes are being proposed to the existing entrance, an entrance permit will be required from the engineering department. So yes, that building permit and the grading plan are required.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Anything further from the committee, or can I get a motion?
Marcel moves approval.
Thank you, Marcel. And a seconder, please.
Adam?
Thank you, Adam. And file number ANPL 2021147 in the name of Mariah Swanson. In accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the development and requested relief maintains the general purpose and intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and is considered appropriate minor in nature, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
And myself? And that's carried. And approved. Signed. Okay, next up is file number BNPL.
Mariah Swanson.
BNPL
is now exiting.
2021150 in the name of Richard Edward Pasavad. This is a severance application, and can the planner give the report, please?
Through you, Chair. An application has been received to sever a parcel having a frontage of 12.9 meters, a width of 11.3 meters, a depth of 54.2 meters, and having an area of 678 square meters, and retain a parcel having an area of 2,050 square meters as a creation of a lot within the hamlet of Victoria. Jump to my page. So this application pertains to what I think many people know as the Good Bread Company, so a converted church structure, and the proposal is to sever off the existing dwelling, so you'll see on the drawing, from the existing now commercial business. So this is accompanied with the minor variance to address some deficiencies. As far as additional comments provided from other departments, there was something to note from development engineering regarding entrance permits, much as was just echoed for the previous application. If any modifications were to be completed, an entrance permit is required. And subject to this land as well, and just a flag for the applicant, there is a condition, so there are two kind of special conditions, or atypical conditions for this boundary adjustment proposed, or I should say severance proposed. One is obviously for the minor variance that is proposed in association, and the other is a required amendment to the site plan. So as this is a commercial, or portion of it is used for commercial purposes, the existing site plan on file includes both portions of the proposed severed and the proposed retained. So we just want to amend the site plan to recognize the proposed lot fabric and any changes in uses. So if snow removal or snow storage was to change, things like that, just to make sure our site plans are up to date and we are acknowledging and recognizing any existing deficiencies or if anything needs to be addressed through that. So that's just an additional condition in relation to this file specifically, given its commercial nature. And with that, and those conditions included, staff recommend that this application be approved. And I'm happy to take any questions.
So this is combined with a minor variance application. Do you want to sort of combine them, or do you want to keep them separate?
Through the chair, if you want me to go over that in combination, it might be helpful
I think
for
you might
you.
as well
Okay.
touch on the minor variance report, and then we can approve them separately afterwards.
Absolutely. So through the chair, this would be AMPL 2021-151. So the application has been received to recognize deficiencies created through the previously noted severance, requiring relief of 0.97 meters from the minimum front yard to permit a front yard setback of 5.03 meters. A relief of 2.7 meters from the maximum building height of 11 meters to permit a height of 13.7, and relief of 2,022 square meters from the minimum lot area of 4,047 square meters to permit a lot area of 2,025 square meters. So to address kind of what these are, this is all pertaining to the proposed retained. Apologies. So the height, as you may have guessed, is pertaining to the church structure, of what was previously a church, as well as the existing setback of that structure, which you can see on the slide. The kind of new non-existing deficiency would be that lot area. So with the proposed severance, it would reduce the lot size of the retained to less than what is permitted, which is that kind of 4,000 acre or 0.4 hectares of space. That being said, there are existing systems, and these obviously function separately as is. So staff don't have many concerns around that lot size, given the size of the structure and what's been supported previously. So to jump to the report, the proposed application is to recognize obviously the increase in height, a decrease in the front yard, and to permit a reduced lot area. And it meets the 4 tests in the opinion of staff in the following ways. It conforms to the general intent and purpose of the OP policies in that it's consistent with the Hamlet policies, as that's where this is located. The application conforms to the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, as the proposed height, lot area, and front yard setback would facilitate the severance of 2 separate uses into individual properties where currently they've been linked. So just to further expand on that, my understanding is the existing dwelling has been used as rental property, but this would allow for a potential purchase as that would become a separate entity. And the application is appropriate because it supports the continued use of both the existing residential and commercial uses and allows them to continue to adapt and complement the surrounding hamlet character where that may be more difficult when they're attached. And the application is minor because of the relatively small impact. No lot is being created through this minor variance, but it would facilitate the existing lots. Further, the proposed deficiencies recognize the existing structure, location, and height, and have also recognized the historical significance of this site as well as to the community. So staff support the application and believe that it recognizes the land uses as a whole. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions on either.
Thanks, Nicole. Is there an agent or applicant on the line?
Are you still connected?
Yes.
You might.
Is there an agent or applicant on the line for this application?
I'm with Richard.
Okay, so you're Richard Pasavat?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you. So we'll deal with the first one, BNPL 2021-150. Is there any questions of the committee? And Mr. Pasavat, would you have anything to add?
I do not have my lawyer on the line.
Yeah, we need not anything.
I'm sorry, I can't make out. I heard you, Richard, but I didn't hear your guest.
My guess is my lawyer, none. He has nothing more to add either.
Okay, so you're fine with what was presented.
Yeah.
Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Is there anything further from the committee, or can I get a motion from the committee?
Through the
Rudy
chair,
moves
Lisa, Lisa will second.
Okay, Rudy and Lisa. So file number BNPL 2021-150 in the name of Richard Pasavat. The subject application is consistent with related policies of the Provincial Policy Statement 2020 and the Norfolk County Official Plan, and no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
Thank you. And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
And myself, and that's approved. And we'll go right to the minor variance, and that is file number ANPL 2021-151. And is there anything from the committee on the minor variance? Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to the minor variance application?
No.
Okay. Can I get a motion from the committee?
Marcel moves approval.
Thank you, Marcel.
And Lisa will second.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So file number ANPL 2021-151 in the name of Richard Pasavat. In accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel?
Yes.
And Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
And myself. And that too is approved. Oh, yeah. We'll make them legal by signing them.
Richard?
Okay, that's done. And last up, we have a
Thank you. Appreciate it. Unless they ask for comments,
we'll let the clear out for a second. It's okay, so we have file number ANPL 2021154 for Toyotetsu Canada. Can the planner give the report, please? This is for a minor variance.
Through you, Chair. I was just going to ask if we could have everyone muted, but it looks like it was just addressed. Fabulous. So an application has been received to construct an addition to an existing manufacturing structure requiring relief of 75 parking spaces from the required
Richard Pozavad
Is now exiting.
required 141 parking spaces to permit 66 parking spaces. So for the committee, this is related to a proposed site plan application that is impending with the committee, or with, I should say, the department now. And as you can see on the slide, they're proposing 67 additional parking spaces. And just to go back to the report, looking at the four tests of a minor variance is the, oh goodness. I think I have the wrong page attached. Excuse that. I can speak to it. So the four tests we're looking at with a minor variance, obviously look at the intent of the official plan, zoning bylaw, as well as whether it's appropriate or minor. This basically the request here is to look at reducing the required parking to match what is proposed through the actual levels of employment that are proposed with this addition to the development. So in the report under the zoning bylaw section, it does speak to planning justification provided by J. Douglas Valley, and I think Eldon's on the line as well, dated June 8th, and that staff agreed that the proposed reduction in parking would not create negative impacts based on the planning, or sorry, I should say the traffic information provided from the applicant and the agent. Based on the scale, it would surpass their needs to ask for the 167. I would note this doesn't preclude any required accessible parking. This is just referring to just our standard parking spots. And yes, so I apologize, committee. I don't know what happened there, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee might have regarding this file.
Well, good job winging it there, Nicole. Is there an applicant or an agent on the line?
Yes, Eldon Darbus in here, G. Douglas Valley on behalf of the owners.
Okay, we'll circle back to you, Eldon, if stand by.
Thank you.
Does the committee have any questions of the planner? Do you have anything to add, Eldon?
Only that we agree with the staff report. This is a great development. They're bringing in 100 new employees, and we just need some parking relief to allow that to happen. And there are no impacts. So thank you very much for the supporting report.
Well, that's very good news. Thank you. Can I get, is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this application? Can I get anything, is there anything else from the committee, or can I get a motion from the committee?
Yeah, Adam.
Adam?
Yeah.
Thank you, and seconded by?
Rudy.
Rudy, thank you. So application, file number ANPL 2021-154 for Toyotetsu Canada Incorporated. In accordance with Section 45(1) of the Planning Act, the requested relief is considered appropriate development, minor in nature, and maintains the general intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and that no public input was received and therefore has not been considered as part of this application. All those in favor, Marcel? Marcel? Okay, move on. Lisa?
Yes.
And Rudy?
Yes.
And Adam?
Yes.
And myself?
Marcel, yes.
And when Marcel, we'll try you again. Okay, we got you. Thank you. That
Yes.
motion carries and is approved. Is there any other business of the committee? No? Good. I have before me a resolution to adjourn. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please?
Marcel?
Thank you, Marcel. Seconded by
Lisa?
Adam?
Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. All those in favor say aye.
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 And it's 6:12, and we'll see you all next month. Thank you very much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks. Have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
Mr. Chairman.